In the lively town of Ekondo, there once lived a woman named Adaora. From a young age, Adaora made a vow she would never marry a man unless he came from deep generational wealth, not just rich today, but rich yesterday, today, and tomorrow. "I will not waste my life with a poor man," she often said. Adaora refused to date men who built their own wealth. She believed those ones had too many burdens. "They always end up broke trying to feed everybody," she told her best friend Enema. "I want a man who was born into riches, not one struggling to create it." Enma laughed and reminded her, "But your own family is poor. You grew up in the Shendi village like the rest of us," Adaora hissed. "And that's the problem with you. That village mentality is why you're stuck with your jobless husband. You feed him from your small salary while he works for a rich man and still lives like a beggar. Why hasn't he stolen from his boss at least once to help you? What kind of man is that?" "If not for our childhood friendship," Adaora added coldly, "I wouldn't be caught breathing the same air as you." Enma's face tightened. She stood up slowly. "At least I'm not ashamed of where I come from," she said. "And you keep borrowing money to live a fake life. This house you're renting isn't yours. You walk around acting better than everyone, but you're no different from me." Adaora didn't respond. She stood there silently as Enma packed her bag and walked out of the door. For the first time in a long while, Adaora felt something sting inside her. Enma's words echoed in her head. It was true. Her mother was a poor market woman from the faraway village of Ameki. Adaora had done everything to hide this. She had warned her family never to visit her in Ekondo, claiming it would ruin her reputation. To everyone in the city, Adaora was the daughter of a powerful chief who lived abroad. Her clothes were rented, her jewelry borrowed, and the car she drove belonged to a married man who owned a car dealership. She only saw him when she needed a new ride. Her life was stitched together with lies, all in the hope that one day a wealthy man would see her and fall in love with her. Class! Then came the call. A luxurious private party was coming up that weekend. Adaora was thrilled. Everyone who was anybody would be there. This was her moment. She must attend. But the invitation came with a steep price, a fee that Adaora simply could not afford. She tried borrowing from friends, but they all refused. She already owed most of them large sums. "Sorry, Ada," one said. "You never pay back." But Adaora couldn't miss this party. If a rich man didn't find her soon, all her lies would crumble. She paced her small apartment, eyes darting, mind racing. That's when her phone rang. It was her younger brother from Ameke. "Sister, our family house has been badly damaged by the flood," he said. "The roof is gone. Mama is trying her best, but it's hard." Adaora's eyes lit up, but not with sympathy. A plan had entered her mind. The very next morning, she boarded a bus to Ameke village. When she arrived, her aging mother had just returned from the farm, her feet dusty, her wrapper soaked in sweat. Adaora put on her saddest face. "Mama, I heard about the flood. I'm so sorry. I came to help," she said, hugging her frail mother tightly. "Hey, my daughter, you came all the way?" Mama's tired eyes lit up with joy. Adaora sat down and lowered her voice. "Mama, I think it's dangerous to keep the land documents here. What if another flood comes? Or thieves?" Her mother looked uncertain. "Mama," she continued, "let me take the papers to Ekondo for safekeeping. You and brother don't need to worry. I'll bring them back when everything settles." Her mother, trusting as ever, went to her small wooden box, pulled out the old envelope and handed it to Adaora. That night, Adaora returned to the city, her heart light with success. She took the documents and visited a local moneylender. "I need enough to pay for this party ticket," she said, laying the land papers on the table. The moneylender smirked. "Collateral from a village girl pretending to be a queen," he muttered, but gave her the cash anyway. Adaora used the money to buy the exclusive invite And then she turned to her friend Gina. "Please borrow me one of your wigs and some of your clothes," she begged. "I promise to return them after the party." Gina raised an eyebrow but agreed. Adaora's charm always worked. Now everything was falling into place, a new look, an expensive party, and a web of lies even deeper than before. But what Adaora didn't know was that this party would change everything. Forever, Adaora couldn't afford a single mistake, not after everything she had risked, and certainly not after pawning her family's land. She had to look perfect. On the night of the elite party, in Ekondo, Adaora walked in like a queen from a royal tale. Her makeup glowed, her gown shimmered, her rented heels clicked with pride, heads turned, whispers followed. The men stared as if she were a dream come alive. She ignored the married men who tried to approach her. She hadn't come for leftovers. Her eyes searched the room like a hunter seeking gold, until they landed on him. A tall, quietly confident man leaning near the bar. He wore a tailored suit that spoke of generational power, not just new money. His name was Obidike, and he had recently returned from abroad to manage his family's empire, one of the wealthiest lineages in the country. Adaora adjusted her smile and made her move. "Hi," she said, her voice like smooth velvet. "I'm Adaora. My father owns several estates in the UK. I just moved back to handle some family business here." Obidike gave a polite nod. She spun lie after lie, painting a picture of private jets, vacation homes, and foreign schools. At one point, she even faked a phone call to her father, murmuring in faux British tones about transferring funds. Obidike watched quietly. He didn't interrupt. He didn't brag about himself either. He let her talk, but he was no fool. As the night stretched on, small cracks began to show. Her story had missing pieces. Her answers grew shaky whenever he asked about her family's business. Obidike's face remained calm, but Adaora could feel the shift. Then, just as she thought she had locked his interest, a woman arrived. She was graceful, naturally beautiful. Her name was Ndidiamaka, and Obidike's true girlfriend. He gently took her hand and walked away, leaving Adaora standing alone in disbelief. Her heart burned. How could this happen? She had done everything, risked everything, sacrificed everything, and yet she was losing him. "I must marry him," Adaora whispered to herself, "even if it's the last thing I do." She sulked to a corner table and sipped her drink. Bitterly. That was when a waiter approached, offering her a refill with a small, polite smile. "Good evening, madam. May I—" "Are you mad?" Adaora snapped, loud enough for heads to turn. "You must be insane to think a woman like me would talk to a common server." The young man blinked, confused. She stood up, eyes blazing. "Do you even know who I am? Do you realize how far beneath me you are? You, a lowly waiter. What gave you the audacity to even breathe in my direction?" The young man quietly bowed and walked away. Adaora didn't care. She wasn't here to make friends. She was here for Obidike, and she had already decided. He would be hers. In the days that followed, she began tracking his every move. She learned where he liked to hang out, what restaurants he visited. She even began attending his church, wearing her finest clothes, making sure to sit where he could see her. But no matter what she did, Obidike didn't notice her. His love for Ndidiamaka remained strong, and it gnawed at Adaora like poison. Her frustration turned into obsession. She hired a private investigator. "Find me something," she instructed, "anything that can destroy her in his eyes." Weeks passed. The report came back clean, and Ndidiamaka was kind, disciplined, respected. No scandals, no secrets, nothing. But Adaora was done waiting. "If there's no dirt," she muttered, "I'll create it myself." She bought a second phone and began sending anonymous messages to Obidike. "I know what your girlfriend is hiding," one said. "She's not who you think she is," another teased. "I have proof." At first, Obedike ignored the texts, but Adaora had planned every step. The final blow came in the form of doctored photos, fake images of Ndidiamaka in the arms of another man. Obedike's world cracked. He confronted Ndidiamaka with the photos. She denied it with tears in her eyes. "It's not me," she pleaded. "Someone is trying to ruin us." But the seed of doubt had been planted. He pulled away. He stopped calling. Their weekly visits faded. And Adaora watched from a distance, satisfied. "I warned you, Ndidiamaka," she whispered one night as she scrolled through her fake account. "He was never yours." Obedike told his friends he needed space, time, clarity, and Adaora. She was already planning her next move. When Obedike finally pulled away from Ndidiamaka, Adaora felt a spark of hope burn in her chest. To her, this was a sign, a chance to finally win him over and secure the life she had dreamed of. She wasted no time. In the days that followed, Adaora began showing up with home-cooked meals. She made herself present in Obedike's life under the disguise of a caring friend. "I just wanted to check on you," she would say sweetly. She even suggested outings to lift his spirits, trying everything from thoughtful gifts to late-night chats. But Obedike remained distant, respectful, yes, gracious, always, but never affectionate, not even slightly. Adaora grew frustrated. She had done everything, risked everything, and yet he was still guarded. One evening inside his sitting room, Adaora leaned forward and boldly confessed her feelings. Obedike frowned. "Adaora," he said slowly, "please don't go down this road. I respect you, but I cannot give you what you want." But Adaora didn't stop. She moved closer and forced a kiss, hoping it would unlock some hidden desire in him. Obedike jerked. Back his face twisted in disgust. "Don't ever try that again," he said firmly. "This isn't love, this is obsession." Still, Adaora refused to let go. She whispered, "Ndidiamaka doesn't deserve you. I can give you so much more." But he didn't respond. He simply walked away, and Adaora felt something break inside her. The next afternoon, just as Adaora was still reeling from his rejection, something happened that she never expected. Her mother arrived in Ekondo. The old woman had come all the way from a Miki village, dusty from travel, heart pounding with fear. She was looking for her daughter, desperate, confused, and trembling. Strangers had come to the village, waving ownership papers for their family land. She needed the documents back. Someone at Adaora's compound told her she might be at Obedike's house. When Adaora saw her mother standing by the gate, her heart froze. "Mama," she hissed, storming out of the house. "What are you doing here?" "I had no choice," her mother said. "We are losing our land, Adaora. I need those papers." Adaora dragged her mother behind the house, away from watching eyes. "Do you know what you've done?" she growled. "You want to destroy everything I've built?" Her mother blinked, in shock. "I just want our land back." "You're nothing but a poor, wretched old woman," Adaora spat. "You know how much I've sacrificed, and you come here to ruin it?" Before her mother could reply, Adaora shoved her hard toward the back of her car. She yanked open the trunk and ordered, "Get in! Mama, get in!" Tears welled in the woman's eyes, but she obeyed. She crawled into the trunk, curled up like a child. Adaora slammed it shut. She walked calmly back into the house and smiled faintly at Obedike, pretending nothing had happened. "I have to go," she said casually. "I just remembered something. Urgent." She drove out of the compound, her mother still hidden in the trunk. When they reached her house, Adaora opened the trunk and pulled her mother out. "You have to go back to the village," she said coldly. "You can't stay here. You never should have come," her mother pleaded, asking again for the land papers, but Adaora refused. "I told you they're safe," she snapped. "Now let's get to the bus park." The old woman didn't speak. Again, She simply clutched her wrapper and followed her daughter. Her face was heavy with pain, her heart broken in a way only a mother's heart could break. Adaora placed her on the next bus heading to Ameke and waved her off with not even a hug. Her mother stared out the window as the bus rolled away. Her heart ached. Something was deeply wrong, but she no longer had the strength to fight it. Later that evening, Enma, Adaora's childhood friend, paid her a visit. She walked in and immediately sensed something was wrong. "What happened?" she asked, Adaora's face twisted in frustration. "My mother, she showed up at Obidiki's house, almost ruined everything." Enma's mouth dropped open. "Your mother? You let her go there? What did you do?" Adaora sighed. "I put her in the car trunk. She wouldn't leave me alone." Enma froze. "You... what?" "She forced my hand," Adaora said. "Didn't I tell her never to visit me? What did she expect? That I'd choose her over the only man who can change my life?" Enma stared at her, disgust written all over her face. "Adaora, have you lost your mind? This man doesn't even love you. What has he done to deserve this loyalty?" Adaora raised her chin defiantly. "You won't understand. I've given up too much to let anyone, even my own mother, ruin my plans. If you can't support me, the door is right there." Enma shook her head slowly. "One day, Adaora, one day you'll look back and regret this. You can't build your life on lies and wickedness. It will all collapse." With that, Enma walked out, tears in her eyes and sorrow in her heart. And Adaora, she stood alone, believing she was still in control. But storms don't give warnings, and the storm was coming. The next evening, Adaora stood before the mirror in another expensive dress she had rented. Shimmering blue fabric that hugged her, curves just right. Her reflection smiled back, full of hope and ambition. When she arrived at Obidiki's mansion, his face lit up with a smile the moment he saw her. Her heart skipped. She sat across from him at the dinner table, and for the first time he didn't seem guarded. He couldn't stop staring at her. Then came the words that melted her. "Adaora, will you be my woman?" For a moment her breath caught in her throat. Then a slow, triumphant smile crept across her face. It had worked. Everything, the lies, the sacrifices, the humiliation, it had all led to this. She was finally with a man of true wealth. Adaora moved into Obidiki's luxurious mansion. She no longer needed to rent clothes. Now she wore designer pieces hand-picked by his stylists. She was photographed at high society events, mingled with powerful people, and walked with the pride of someone who had arrived. She flaunted her new status unapologetically, basking in admiration from people who once ignored her. And when Obidiki introduced her to his family as the woman he wanted to marry, Adaora almost wept with joy. She sat in their living room surrounded by mahogany chairs, chandeliers, and portraits of legacy. And Obidiki spoke about planning an extravagant engagement party. Adaora could already see herself in an ivory gown, waving to the cameras, seated beside a man every woman desired. This was it. This was the life. She told herself she had earned it. Obidiki took charge of the event planning, and Adaora felt pampered beyond imagination. Every vendor was elite, every plan luxurious, every detail perfect. Meanwhile, word of her engagement spread quickly, and soon Enema heard about it. She called Adaora, her voice warm. "I heard the news, my sister. Congratulations. I hope you'll invite me." Adaora laughed coldly. "And Ma, this is not a village gathering. It's for the rich. I can't have people like you looking out of place." Enma went silent. Adaora's words echoed in her ear, each one a dagger. Tears welled up as she hung up the call. She remembered everything she had done for Adaora, how she had taken her in when she first came to Ekondo, using her own savings to help her get settled. She remembered the cramped room they shared, the Times she split her food. The times she sent money home on Adaora's behalf, even the costs of Adaora's father's funeral. She had covered those too. And now, this was how she was repaid. Just then, her husband came home. His face glowed, like a man who had touched heaven. "Nanma," he said, holding out a sealed letter. "It's from Pa Malu's lawyers." Her heart jumped. He had worked for Pa Malu, a wealthy businessman, for over 12 years as a loyal assistant. Quiet, humble, faithful. He had never stolen a penny, never raised his voice. Nema opened the letter with shaking hands. Inside was a will. Pa Malu had passed and left her husband a mansion, vast land, and billions of naira. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she read the letter again and again, after all the years of hardship, after all the shame, after all the moments Adaora had mocked her. They were no longer poor. Her husband wrapped his arms around her. "We made it," he whispered, and still Adaora was busy living in her fantasy. She grew worse by the day. She insulted the staff in Obidike's mansion. She slapped a maid over a broken glass. She shouted at a gatekeeper who failed to open the door fast enough. She hated poor people now, even though she came from poverty herself. But the big day finally arrived. Adaora stood at the entrance of a lavish venue decorated with gold drapes, tall floral pillars, crystal chandeliers, and soft, glowing lights. She wore a custom-designed gown Obidike had picked for her. Dazzling sequins, a low back, and flowing fabric that swept across the floor. Guests from all corners of the elite world arrived. Businessmen, politicians, foreign investors. It was the kind of gathering you read about in magazines. Adaora walked through the hall like royalty. Cameras flashed. Her smile gleamed. Her head held high. She had arrived. Obidike's family surrounded her with warmth and celebration. She sat beside him as his mother held her hand and called her daughter. In her heart, Adaora felt she had finally escaped the dirt of her past. Then the time came. Obidike stood and picked up the microphone. The room quieted. Cameras turned toward him. Everyone smiled, expecting sweet words, a ring, maybe even a proposal. Adaora leaned in, butterflies in her stomach. This was the moment, or so she thought. The grand hall of Ekondo Palace Hotel was filled with light, music, and the most powerful people in the city. Adaora sat beside Obidike, her heart full, her smile glowing. The chandeliers sparkled above them like stars. This was her day. Obidike stood up and took the microphone. He thanked everyone for coming, praised Adaora in front of the crowd, and spoke softly about love and loyalty. Adaora blushed as cameras flashed and guests clapped. Her dream was finally alive. Then Obidike turned to a large screen behind him. "I have a special gift for Adaora," he said with a mysterious smile. The lights dimmed. The crowd turned toward the screen. The video began to play. Adaora's smile faded. It was a clip of her in a crowded market, yelling over the price of second-hand clothes. She wore a torn scarf. Her dress was faded. She looked nothing like the woman they saw today. Gasps filled the room. Whispers followed. Some laughed. Others looked away. Adaora froze. Her heart thundered in her chest. She turned to Obidike, but he didn't look at her. He stared ahead, stone-faced. Then came the next clip, Adaora screaming at her frail mother, shoving her into the trunk of a car, yelling, "You will not ruin this for me!" The audience fell silent. Then, slowly, Mama, Nkem, Adaora's mother, walked into the hall, supported by her son. The old woman's face was gentle, tired, and filled with sorrow. Obidike turned toward her. "Mama," he said, "I invited you here tonight because you deserve honor, not shame." He walked to her, knelt and kissed her hand. "I promise to care for you and your son for the rest of your days." The hall erupted in applause. Then he turned back to Adaora. "You thought you could fool me," he said calmly, his voice carrying across the crowd. From the very beginning I knew who you were, but I wanted the world to see you, as you truly are. Adaora opened her mouth, but no words came. You lied, you manipulated, you betrayed your family, and you even tried to destroy my relationship with Ndidiamaka. Suddenly, Ndidiamaka appeared at the entrance of the hall. She wore a radiant gold gown. Her beauty was effortless. Her presence was like the sun. She walked up to the stage and stood beside Obidike. You thought you could tear us apart, Obidike said. But what you didn't know is that we were always 10 steps ahead. Adaora's eyes widened. You see, Ndidiamaka continued, we knew. Every message you sent, every false photo, every whisper behind our backs, we knew. And we recorded it all. Another clip played, a voice message. Adaora's voice, laughing. He'll never know what hit him. I'll make sure she's gone. The hall buzzed with disgust. Adaora's knees trembled. Her hands shook. The air around her felt heavy and dark. Obidike stepped closer. You thought you could use lies and desperation to trap me, he said. But this engagement was never real. This stage, this night, was your reckoning. Then he took Ndidiamaka's hand. This is the woman I will marry, a woman with honor, grace, and truth. Adaora fell to her knees. Please, Obidike, she begged. I'll change, I swear, just don't leave me like this. But Obidike didn't look at her again. He turned to the security. Escort her out. And so, in front of all the people she once tried to impress, Adaora was dragged out of the grand hall like a criminal. Her expensive dress trailed behind her like a torn curtain, her makeup smudged with tears. Outside, reporters whispered. Guests gossiped. The once proud Adaora, who lived for appearances, had become a public disgrace. Inside the hall, Obidike wrapped an arm around Mama Inkem and her son. He made sure they were honored, not just in front of the crowd, but forever. He set up a trust fund, bought them a home, and placed them under his protection. He didn't just destroy Adaora's lies. He uplifted the ones she tried to bury. The engagement celebration of Obidike and Ndidiamaka became the true highlight of the night. Guests gave their blessings, toasted to love, and praised Obidike for his wisdom and integrity. Meanwhile, far from the glitz, Enma stood on the balcony of her new mansion with her husband. The wealth he inherited had changed their lives forever. They no longer struggled, they no longer worried, and best of all, they had peace. Amar remembered her tears, her sacrifices, her humility, and she smiled. She had lived right, and life had rewarded her. But Adaora became a shadow of her former self. The woman who once vowed to marry into wealth now wandered alone. No luxury, no family, no friends, only regret. She was a tale mothers whispered to their daughters, a warning about pride, lies, and the hunger for appearances. She spent her days hiding, haunted by the memories of what she could have had. If only she had chosen love and truth over deceit and desperation. In the end, it wasn't her ambition that destroyed her. It was what she was willing to sacrifice to reach it. And so, the lesson of this story is clear. True wealth is not found in riches or fancy clothes. It lives in integrity, humility, and the love of those who walk with truth. Lies may shine for a moment, but they always crack under the weight of reality. And when they fall hard. Let Adaora's fall remind us all. A house built on lies may stand tall, but it will always crumble, while a home built on truth will stand for generations.